Okay, today's the day we're going to put these three lessons together and tie your first fly. This fly is the woolly worm. It's very similar to the woolly bugger except without a tail. So let's lay down our base thread just like we learned in the beginning, how to do a jam knot. Okay, I just wrap down as even as I can till I get to about where the line hangs by the point of the barb, somewhere around there. Now we're going to be using some chenille and a hackle, and this hackle could be grizzly, it could be black, it could be brown. The color variations are huge. You can even use a light white feather if you like, a nice tight hackle. And the colors of chenille will vary depending on what you like. I like this olive green. It seems to be the best standard for my area, but it could be blue, it could be black. There's a lot of variations to that as well. So I like to strip off a little bit of the ends so I have a little bit of the bare line to start tying to. And then we use the pinch knot as we had gone over in the earlier segments. And don't be afraid to unwind if you make a mistake. Sometimes things don't lay down the way you want them to. So there's a pinch knot a couple times, and 3 just for good measure, and then it's in place. I can remove my fingers and then wrap it down and get it nice and tight. Wrap forward and then wrap back to the same spot we started, because now we're going to tie in the hackle. You could trim off these pieces if you like. It's not going to make much difference for this fly. In some flies it's important. Now, tying in the hackle. I like a very, very thick hackle. It fishes really nice. So you could start from the tip or you can start from the end. If you start from the tip, you'll get a thinner, shorter, and a tapered fly. If you start from the back, you will get a thicker, longer hackle fly. So in this case, because this hackle is such a thick hackle, I'm going to start at the tip. So I've pulled back a bit to give myself a spot to tie into. I place the feather at a bit of an angle to my hook shank, and then I'm going to do a pinch wrap. Pinch wrap number 1, pinch wrap number 2. It's kind of a 3 pinch wrap kind of a maneuver. So once that's done, it's in place, so you can remove your fingers and then you can do the tie down loops to secure the rest of the feather. Okay, I'm just going to snip off these little end pieces now that I have that tied in. And now here comes the fun part. I'm just going to move the line forward up to the eye of the hook. And you don't have to worry about the tapered body or anything like that for this fly. The chenille will kind of cover it. So I'm just going to stop there so I have a little bit of space left to actually make the head of the fly. You can see right there that I'm pointing, so that space right there, I like to keep just enough space that you can make a nice little head. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to grab the chenille and we're going to wrap these in touching turns all the way forward. I usually start from behind and wrap over, and I'll do like one pass behind the hackle and then the rest of them will be in front. This kind of just hides where the hackle starts. So I'll just do touching turns, and you can make it a little tighter or a little looser, just it's kind of up to you, but I like the touching turns here, evenly spaced about the length of the hair of the actual chenille itself. Once I reach my line, I'm just going to do a capture, and by that I'm just going to lift my bobber, fishing's on my mind, my bobbin over top of the chenille and then let it rest, and that's now captured. So I could release this from my hand now and it's not going to unravel. Then I will make a couple more nice tight turns to get it cinched in there nice and tight, and then I'll just snip off the excess. get that out of there. I'm trying to do turns and follow the line of the actual chenille so I can drop my quill into the actual line. It kind of hides the dark line of the fly, and it kind of hides the quill as well. And at this point, don't worry too much about trying to keep the hackle all squared away. We can fix that up with a bodkin or a pin or something afterwards. So now I'm all the way to the front. Just get a little bit out of my way so I can actually do a capture. So I'm just going to hold this now with my right hand and move my bobbin over and capture that. Now I could let it go and it will stay where I want it to. Once it's captured, I can just give it a quick snip and then finish off with some tying turns. Just get a couple of these hairs out of my way here. So I'm going to build up the head and tie down the rest of that hackle at the same time. I'm just going to build up a little bit of head here so that I have no real big lumps. It'll kind of just go down from the same shape as my chenille, and now I have a decent looking head. I'm going to use the whip finish that we also learned just a few minutes ago, pushing forward, releasing into a figure 4, and I'm going to do 4 or 5 turns here. Pull that off, pull it tight, and cut the line off. Now some people don't like putting head cement on their flies that are supposed to be a dry fly, but this is kind of a dry wet fly. I do cover it in the floatant, so it floats high anyway, so I don't worry too much about it. So I put a dab as hard as nails just on the head. Just makes the fly just last a little bit longer. And now that I've done that, let it dry a few minutes, and now grab my bodkin or pin. Oh yes, forgot about this little tip. Take the end of your feather and shove it through the eye, and it'll make sure you don't have any nail polish or any head cement stuck in the eye. That's always a bummer when you go and try and tie that on. So anyway, once it's dry, then you can just poke it through with your scissors or a bodkin, whatever you got there, and just pull out all the rest of the hackles that were all tucked down there. And that's it. You've finished your first fly, and there it is, the woolly worm. Don't forget, my hackle is a lot longer than most people's, so it's going to be a little bit different, but this is the way I like mine to fly. And that's it. You will start to find differences that you like, and you can start altering the fly to the way you prefer to fish them. Anyway, give that a try.